All right, hello everybody. You're with Tom and Fern. I'm Tom.
I'm Fern.
And first we need to do this. We need to say, hear ye, all rise, because Judge Andy Owens is in the house.
Right.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
You're welcome. Soon to retire, though, but hey, I'm still there now.
Yeah, still wielding the gavel. But the reason, you've done a lot of good work here, and we do want to commend you for your service on the bench. But you're here today largely because you were recently ranked number 8 on the all-time Florida Gator basketball great list.
I have a question. If he's on the bench, how could he be number 8? I don't understand.
He's the sixth man.
I just traded one court for another court.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So Judge Owens played for Coach Tommy Bartlett in 67 to 70
That is correct.
In the real Chuck Taylor era.
Yes, indeed. Chuck Taylor Converse All-Stars.
Is that the only thing you guys had?
That is all we
had. You
had.
had nothing else to go with?
No, we had, my senior years, Adidas came out with a shoe, and some of the daring ones, but you had to be really daring to want to wear an Adidas. But you could wear a high top or low top.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was the big thing.
You got your choice.
So you were the captain your senior year,
Yes.
and averaged 27 points per game in the pre-3-point era, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, and so some people said you may have averaged 40 if there had been a 3-point play.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, but you were a post guy, right? You got most of your points within 5 to 8 feet of the basket. Were you a bomber from outside?
Yes, I didn't have a lot of assists. I have to tell you that right off the bat. But we had a high-low post, and I was a high post, so I'd bounce out to the wings. But if you think I would have averaged a lot, think what Pete Maravich would have done. He averaged over 40 points without a 3-point shot.
I remember that. And I think you, Pete Maravich, and Lou Alcindor were All-American high school, right?
Yes.
That's a nice crowd.
Right.
And did you play against Maravich?
I did. For 3 years, he was at LSU.
Right.
All 3 years.
What was that like? I mean, I remember it. I was a little younger than you then, but I remember it as being a zoo. I mean, just being incredible, the energy when he was playing.
It was. And I can only say that Pete Maravich is the only player that I had the privilege of playing against that I really feel, if he were playing today, would be better today than then. Mm-hmm. The things he could do with a basketball, people still can't do, but they're doing a lot of things that he did do. He was an amazing player and really a nice guy. And it was only later that I realized that he had that alcohol issue. I never knew that. He was just but back when I played, there was a lot more camaraderie between the teams. They'd fly in on a Friday night, work out, you'd sit there and watch them, you'd go out to eat with them. There was just a lot more camaraderie. Then you'd play on Saturday and they'd leave to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Another team would come in Sunday and you'd meet. So to me, it was a much better time. Today, everybody is so stressed and it's such a big thing about winning.
Yeah.
You had, I did a little research. You had a Pete Maravich story where you were guiding him, and he said it was like waving a white handkerchief in front of him. But he said, "I'll let you score, Owens. Let me just get the ball back." Right? Is that true?
That is correct. Yeah. I mean, I really couldn't guard Pete, but he said that, Owens, you get the ball and I'll let you score. And sure enough, he'd move back so I could catch the ball. As soon as I got it, I'd fake just a little. He'd jump 6 feet that way, and I'd go in and make a layup.
All right, so how tall were you, at least how tall were you then?
6'7".
6'7". Wow. So were you the tallest guy on your team?
No, my junior year, I got to play with Neil Walk. Now, Neil Walk was ranked number one for the all-time Florida Gators. And since you mentioned Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, back in 1969, they did a coin toss between Milwaukee and Phoenix. Milwaukee won, and they took Lou Alcindor, and Phoenix took Neil Walk. He was the second person taken in the draft.
Huh.
And Neil Walk, the drop down from Alcindor to Walk was pretty substantial in the career stats.
It was, but Neil was a fabulous player. When my senior year in Florida, there was myself, Dave Cowens, and Artis Gilmore was playing
that
at
Jackson.
JU.
Wow. Yeah.
What a trilogy.
And it was an amazing, I think that's the best as a group that basketball has been in the state of Florida.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember the
Well, you never had, at what point did you realize in your college career that I'm not going to make a pro game out of this? I better really brush up on my law book. So did you did you know that from going in, even after scoring 27 points a game?
I did, and I actually realized it before my senior year. I went up and worked up at a camp in New York, and some of the counselors took us down to the city in New York to play on those outdoor courts. And I realized when guys were catching my shots around the basket, and they weren't playing for any NBA team, I had a limited career at that point.
And the money in the NBA wasn't what it is now,
No.
so it wasn't like you could just roll the. You thought maybe I'll roll the dice and see if But you were drafted by Seattle.
Seattle and Chicago.
In Chicago, yeah. And maybe even at the ABA?
ABA was New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah. So tell us about who kind of was your guidepost. Who taught you the most about basketball earlier in your life?
Well, I think I was sharing with you earlier before we started the interview. I'd started playing basketball. My dad was only 5'10", but I just kept growing. My mother was 5'8". And my mom actually played college basketball. She was from a little town in northeast Georgia and actually played basketball at Agnes Scott. So I'd started playing in the 7th grade. We didn't have any organized sports in elementary school at that time. And we had the whole team over at my house, had a basket up in the backyard, and we were all playing horse. And my mom said, could she play? Which totally embarrassed me as a 7th grader. And guess what? She won. So I thought that my life had ended there. I'll never play basketball again. But she really helped me a lot. But, I just kept growing. And when you're tall, everybody wants you to play basketball.
Right.
And I was just very fortunate. I had a high school coach named Bob Shiver that had actually played at the University of Florida, then coached at the University of South Florida, and he was very instrumental. And
that was at Hillsborough High School.
That was at Hillsborough High School in Tampa.
And I was telling you before, I go into Council's Pool Hall in Bradenton, and the proprietor, Lawton Smith, remembers the day that y'all came down from Hillsborough to play Manatee. And he said Richard Trapp was playing, the great Florida flanker, as I recall.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, so he said it was a big deal when Andy it was the Western Conference.
It was, and Manatee, Hillsborough, Winter Haven was also in it, and you got to travel around. But there's so many more people in Florida now that you don't have that Western Conference anymore.
Yeah.
Andy, I want to ask you, obviously your mother's side, maybe you picked up the basketball gene, but the academics, the books, the smarts, was that stressed in your household at an early age along with athletics also?
Well, both of my parents were college graduates, which were very unusual, and if you were going to play, you had to have A's. Now, they were a little more lenient on conduct with me, because back then they gave you an academic grade and a conduct grade. I cannot say that my conduct grades were A's.
Why? What did you do that maybe earned you B's or lower?
I was a talker.
All right, so you've had a splendid judicial career. You've helped found the drug court and participate. You've helped a lot of people in their lives, straighten their lives out through the courts. Is that when you look at your legal career, is that what you're most proud of, or is there something else?
No, that's what I'm really the proudest of, and it's such a great opportunity to watch people that have made a bad choice, but to turn their lives around and regain their self-confidence. When you work in that program, you'll see most of these people have lost all self-confidence. And also, we're getting ready to start a veterans court, so we're going to try to provide the same services for veterans. I mean, they're eligible now, but there's so many additional services for veterans. We've decided we're going to set up a separate court and try to assist them also.
Yeah. I know we're running out of time, but do we even talk about the reason we have you here? You were ranked by the Gainesville Sun the 8th greatest Gator basketball player in history. When I talked to you, you said that you should have been out of the top 10. You're being very modest, but talk about that honor.
Well, it was a great honor. My time at the University of Florida was the greatest period in my life, so I love being there. They made a mistake and put me 8th, but I'm going to take it. But the guy I played with, like I said, Neil Walk, was number one. And it was based on your body of work at the University of Florida. Many have gone on and become great pros, which I never did. But it was just a great honor. I'm delighted. They'd put me in the Hall of Fame there before, and basketball legend, but this was top of the list for me.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're familiar with that clock right in front of us.
Yes,
16. You better get the shot up there.
That's right.
I never had a problem getting the shot up.
Yeah. Actually, Lamar Matthews told me that was the case. That he'd studied up on you a little bit. Listen, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it, and enjoy your retirement. It's well deserved. And revel in 8, man.
Yeah,
Revel in
Revel in 8.
eight.
Right, exactly.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.